Right, what I'm doing today, I've got my Webley LiteW8. I'm going to strip it down. I've got to replace the trigger spring in it because what happened the last time I stripped it down, the actual putting it back together, the spring sprung off and I couldn't find it, so I had to order a new spring from Chambers, and while that was being ordered I got a 50p biro pen and cut the spring off of that, and since then I've been shooting with a biro pen spring in it, but it has worked. But I've got the spring now, I'm going to put it in, so I would imagine the springs will last longer anyway. Also, there's a bit of tension on the bolt, it seems to be sliding forward quite a bit. So I'm going to try and sort the tension out on the hammer, because I think that's what's causing it to slide forward too much. I don't think I've seen a Webley LiteW8 stripped down before on YouTube, so it's very similar to the FX2000, but there are slight differences. The 2000's got an air gauge under the stock. This, as you can see, this one hasn't. This one has been fitted with a regulator by Phil Crampton of the Ratworks. It's been shooting within 3 feet per second across the entire range, which is good, but recently there's been a few flyers that's gone over the 12-foot pan, so I might have a play around with the hammer spring to see if I can get it down to the right sort of power. Right, first off I'll take the scope off, and I think everything on this rifle, it's all Allen keys, so as long as you've got an Allen key set, you can get it done. If you was going to go into the air cylinder to mess around with the valves, you'll make sure that the rifle was completely drained of air. Yeah, that's the bipod off, and the silencer. If you can hear that licking, it's my boxer dog, so. Alright, so then, silencer, scope, bipod, that's out of the way. Next thing to do, we'll get the bolt off. This one's a custom bolt that I bought off YouTube. A bit longer than the original. It's easier to cock. Okay. Bolt, not forgetting the sleeve, so put that to one side. And the only two things holding it on there are the two Allen bolts underneath the stock. I've had the rifle since new, probably about 8 years ago, when they first came out. It's supposed to be in a limited edition, and they don't make them anymore. I think the only pre-charged rifle that Webley make now are the Webley Raiders. But they are fairly easy rifle to take apart. So that's the stock screws out of the way. Put the stock there. Now if you can see the, you might find, if you look at other triggers, this one is slightly different. Is that in focus there? Come back a bit. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's like an open trigger. I think on the FX it's got, it's all packed in. Now one of the things we've found with this is this spring here. That's the replacement biro spring I put in, but that's what I lost last time. Putting it back together, that's the hardest part, is getting the actual trigger mechanism back in. Everything else is quite simple. So all that's holding the spring on is a pin going through here, so you can use an Allen key again just to shove it through, making sure not to lose the spring. So I'll put my thumb and finger over that. See, steadies to come out of the pin. So the pin's out. There's the pin. The trigger mechanism comes out. There's my biro spring. This other seal on it. Trigger unit. And there's another little spring. So you've got two springs on the trigger. A small one fits there, and the big one on the back. So that's the trigger out anyway. So put those there. Right, that's the hammer in there. And what we've got to do next is take off the breech block and the barrel. And there's 3 screws to take out of this. They're all Allen screws again. Slide the bolt back a bit. See, that is under tension. That. Don't know if you can see that. That's under tension. That should be back there, but it's being pulled forward by the spring. But there's a little Allen screw just down here. And that's the wrong size. Alright, let's crack that. I mean, so far there's only 3 different sized Allen keys to this. See that? So I think that one's out there. There's another one up near the actual fuel probe in here, right at the back. Feel right for that. Could be a small Allen key actually. No. Yeah, it's the same one. It's the same one as the one of the loading port Breech. That's that out. And the final one is right at the back, just there. And once this one comes out, you can actually get to the hammer. So that might be bigger. Yeah, the one at the back is slightly bigger than the other two. Got it. And that is off. Oh, So that's separated the breech block and the barrel. And that's the screw out of it. I'll leave that in. Now the other two I took out. The long one is for the one near the loading port, and the short one is for the front end of the barrel. Right, the next thing to come out is the actual rear part here. That just pulls out. That's the actual safety block as well. And nice, you'll be able to turn it up. And that is the hammer in there, and the hammer sleeve. Now, when you look at these, you think to yourself, well, how do you get into that? Well, basically all it is, just so you've got the hole. At the front of the hammer you've got a cut out, and what you do, you actually put an Allen key or drill bit in to lock it off, and at the back of the hammer there's a screw point. This is where the actual trigger here catches onto the back of that there. As I say, on the end of it you've got a screwdriver slot, so you can tighten it up, puts tension on the spring, or loosen it off all the way out, and it'll come in two parts then. So that's how you get the hammer apart. Don't know if you can see down there, but if you look down there, you've got the actual valve that the hammer hits. There's a pin down there. It hits that, and it opens up the transfer port hole, and the ear goes up to that through the breech and shoots the power down the barrel. The actual bolt, some people might think the air goes through the bolt probe, it don't. All that does is load the bolt, and as you pull it back, as you can see, there's a little lug on that catches the actual hammer there, pulls it along and cocks it. So basically that's it. That's what cocks the rifle. That shoots forward. So that is the workings. Pretty simple really. Right, so all I'm going to do with this is loosen this off a quarter turn, and hopefully that'll solve the problem of the thing being pulled forward. Alright, I'll just get a screwdriver with that. Right, I've got a screwdriver. Just locate the actual Allen key into the back of the hammer, like that. I'll turn it left anti-clockwise. That should be enough. So all I've got to do now is follow the same thing in reverse. So first off, actually I didn't get everything out, did I? There's the actual slide that the bolt goes into, the actual hammer I should say. So that's gone in there, like that. Oh yeah, that part with the long slot in, that's face up. That's so. Get this out a minute. Got this all lined up again. Yeah. If you look at that, that goes in face up. So when the bolt catches it, that's what turns. And this bit here is where the actual proper bolt goes into that. So keeping that to the top, I'll shove that in, followed by the actual rear, which is the actual safety there. Look, on the bottom of this you can probably see that little hole. That's what the spring locates into from the trigger. So that just basically shoves in like that. It goes back on top. What I'm going to do now is get the front end lined up. So that's a small screw for the front. Drop that in. That's tight enough. While that's in, I'll put the fill probe back on the dust cap. Right, this time got it, nipping that up. Right, let's see what this is like. Still some tension there. So the long screw goes back in there. Yeah, I think it's this one. So that's the barrel and the breech back together. Okay, that's the original spring I got from Chambers. It cost £3.7p. That was the one I was using out of a biro. It did the same job though, but it won't be as good a steel as a spring that I've got from Chambers, so that's why I decided to replace it. Right, let's get on with the job of putting the trigger mechanism back together. So first of all, a small spring located in there. in the top part of the trigger that contacts the hammer on the little nut up with that, so it's on it. Now, don't know if you can see, but there's a little hole there that this spring locates into, just there. Right, looking at the back of the breech, you've actually got the safety mechanism. Basically all that is, you've got a little nut at the bottom, just there. When it's on fire, it's out of the way, but when it's safe, it comes down to that position. Basically what that does, it stops the trigger from coming back, so you can't fire the rifle. But as soon as you move it into the fire position, it'll come back and fire. Right, so all I'm going to do now is fit the trigger and everything back together. The small spring locates there. Fits in just on top like that. Now just at the bottom here there's a little hole that the other spring locates into. And then what I need to do then is line the hole up there with the hole on the rifle. And that's in. I hope you saw that. That's basically it. And if you look at the little nut I was on about, that comes down, stops it firing. You take it off and it will fire. Not much play in it really, but that's it. I'll put the bolt on and then you'll see that in action. So I'm locating the bolt. Bolt is now on. Safety is on. That's it. That's the lock tip. Safety off, and it's firing. So again, safety on. That's cocked it. Safety off. Fire. Now I'm actually sure that the one I had in there before the last spring was longer than that, but that is quite loose to what it used to be. But we'll see how it goes anyway. What I'll need to do now is test it on the chronograph to make sure it's legal, which you should always do after you took your gun apart. Right, final thing, put the rifle back into the stock. They got one bolt is slightly longer than the other, shorter bolt to the front, large bolt to the rear. Put the silencer back on. Probably heard it's quite a loud bang without the silencer because it's quite a short barrel. Put the silencer on. I don't think. There we go. Not quite so loud, is it? Right. So that is a rifle back together. Well, I hope you've learnt something from the workings of the Webley LiteW8. Quite a nice rifle. No longer made, which is a shame. Webley's gone off the market really. Thanks for watching.